What's up, guys? Dontavious here, three-time Team USA high jumper, five-time NCAA All-American, four-time SEC silver medalist, who also coaches high school athletes. And my athletes have made progressions from going from 6 feet to 6'7", 6'6" to 6'10", 6'6" to 6'8" in 3 weeks. You name it, my athletes have improved from 3 inches, 4 inches, 5 inches, 6 inches, 7 inches, whatever number you can think of. They've most likely have done it already, right? All the way up to a whole foot over a year's period, right? So guys, today what we're going to be talking about is the fact that height does not matter in high jump. And when I talk about height does not matter, what I'm referring to is the height that you were born with will not have a direct and complete impact on how high you can jump as a high jumper, right? And what I'm saying is, well, of course, it does have some type of effect, right, on some things when you're talking about hip height. But when you're referring to how good you can be as a high jumper and thinking about the difference in height and saying, oh, well, I'm only 5'8" and he's 6 feet, so he's going to jump higher than me. Not true at all. Oh, I'm only 6 feet and he's 6'7", he's going to jump higher than me. Not true at all, right? Those are things that we're going to talk about today and get you to understand why those things are not true and why you should change your mindset, okay? So number one, right? Height does not matter. So let's just think, right? Let's just think about two different high jumpers here. So what we're going to do is we're going to get us, first we're going to draw us a high jump bar. Imagine that's a high jump bar, and let's say it's at 6 foot. So we're going to put a 6 foot right here. And let's say we have a high jumper who is 6 feet tall. So he's like, his height is right in line with the bar. Then we have a high jumper who is about 5'10", or let's say 5'9". So he's 3 inches shorter, right? So this is his path with the bar. Okay. So we're going to say 6 foot, 5'9". So with these two high jumpers, right, most people are going to naturally think, okay, the 6 foot kid is going to just jump higher, or he's just going to be better because he's just taller. He's the height of the bar. Completely false, right? Number one, let's just think about the inches in high jump, right? And when it comes to high jump, the higher the bar goes, the harder it gets to get more and more inches because it gets more difficult as the bar goes higher. But when we're in this range, which is most of the range a lot of high school athletes are, especially high school boys, in this 6 feet range, 6 feet, is not that much different from 5'8", 5'10", right? If you just kind of even look at this pin, right, the difference between 6 feet to let's say 5'10" is, close to the size of this top. That's not a big difference at all. You're talking about the size of this top right here, right? And the same thing is true when you're talking about how tall a person is, right? It's not that big of a difference when you're talking about being a great high jumper, right? So the first thing that we really want to understand here is height does not matter, right? And I'm going to tell you why, right? Because most times when people see like this comparison, they think that's the end all be all and that's the end of the story. But this is why. When you think about height in the high jump, you can't just think about the height that somebody was born with. You have to think about how tall is this person going to be when they actually take off, right? So we have two jumpers here. He's getting ready to take off. Let's see. That's not a good representation. I'm trying to make something specific here. So let's just say we have a jumper. When he takes off, he's getting ready. Boom. So this is him taking off. He got his legs stuck all the way out. Let's just pretend he's getting down low, right? And this high jumper, on the other hand, right here, he's taking off, but he's more tall when he's taking off, right? So he's just staying more tall at takeoff. All right. So let's just pretend that this is the 6 foot jumper and this is our 5'9" jumper, right? So what's the difference of these two young jumpers here? Well, what happens is when both of these jumpers get to takeoff, even though this jumper, the 6-foot jumper, is supposedly 3 inches taller than this 5'9" jumper, at takeoff, this 6-foot jumper now becomes 5'8". So he's now 5'8". Because look at how much he's sinking down. He's sinking down so much, you might as well call him 5'8". The 5'9" jumper, on the other hand, he not only is standing upright, he's standing up even taller than what his natural height is. So when you think about this, for example. When you go to the doctor, if you ever went and got a physical, I know a lot of young athletes have to get physicals for sports, and they measure your height and you just try to scrunch up and see how tall you can really be. Like, that's kind of what you want to do in a high jump. You almost want to get taller than what you can be. Because if you just stand up naturally, like, you're going to be a certain height. But if you just kind of stretch your body a little bit, you'll probably be like another 1.5 inches or 2 taller. So now this 5'9" jumper, let's say he's now 5'11", because of the position he gets into a takeoff and stretches himself out and just kind of gets really tall, pushes through those hips and gets in that position, right? So now, guys, you can kind of see here. This is a part of why height does not matter, because this jumper is now 5'11" at takeoff, even though he was 5'9". This jumper is now 5'8" at takeoff, even though he was supposed to be 6 feet. Right. So when you're thinking about high jump, if you want to actually be better, you need to stop thinking that, oh, I'm just too short to do this event. I did high jump when I was 5'5", and I was jumping 4'8". And when I was a sophomore in high school, I was about 5'8", and my PR was 5'10". And when I was a junior, I was close to like 6 feet. My PR ended up being 6'3". My senior year, my PR was like what? My PR was 6'6" coming out the senior year out the gate. Then I went 6'8", 6'10", 7 feet. I'm not 7 feet tall. I'm like 6'2", and I still am 6'2" to this day, right? So don't let the concept of, oh, if I was just a little bit taller, right? And now we're going to throw Stefan Holm in here. So if you think about this athlete, Stefan Holm, we're going to say SH. This man is 6 feet tall. He's about 6 feet tall. How high of a bar did he jump? To the ceiling. 2.40 meters. 7'10" and a half. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, well, he's just all this. He's just really good, or he just God-given. The man is 6 feet tall. He's 6 feet tall, and you have high school high jumpers and people or coaches and stuff and thinking, well, my son isn't that tall, so, he just can't jump that high. Height has nothing to do with how high you can jump. This man jumped almost 2 full feet above his head. I'm 6'2". I've jumped 7 feet 5 inches above my head. That's 1 foot and 3 inches above my own head. So when it comes to high jump for our younger athletes, there's always this discrepancy of thinking, oh, because I'm 6 feet, I may not be able to jump 6'2". Where does that even come from? The logic is created by ourselves. That is not a true statement. It's not real. It's fairy tale is created, right? And as a high jumper, as a parent, as a coach, all you have to do is go find the proof. Go look it up. Even though this is one of the greatest ever at this height to go 240, if you just go look on worldathletics.com, you're going to see thousands on thousands on thousands of people who've already jumped above their height, and the fact that height does not matter. And you can go and look up all of their heights and kind of see how tall they are. These people will probably be no taller than your son or your daughter. Same height, right? So I'd say all of this to say, right, height truly does not matter in the high jump. And there was a point in high school when I thought it did. Maybe when I was 15, 16 years old, I was 5'5". And when I was 5'8", maybe I thought it did. But I'm here to tell you today, delete that sentence from your mind. Delete that thought process from your mind. The way you should be thinking is, if I have body positions, right? Positions. You should be thinking positions. Don't let the thought of your height stop you. Let's think positions. If we can be, tall at the hips, right? Tall hips, right? If we can be tall at the hips, if we can make sure we don't sink down, right? Sink down. Don't, right? Forgot to put don't at the front. We're tall at the hips, we make sure we don't sink down. We make sure when we take off, right? When we actually take off, we try and stretch out and shoot vertical and don't cut ourselves short, right? So take off vertical. All of these things can make you taller, right? Not physically, not, genetically, no, but this can make you taller technically in the high jump and make a 5'9" jumper taller than a 6-foot jumper, right? And this exact thing, these exact kind of practices are the same practices that my athletes use, right? I've had athletes go from jumping 5'10" to 6'4". I've had athletes go from jumping in 5'11" to 6'5", 6 feet to 6'7", 6'6" to 6'10", all of the above, right? And using certain things like this. And what we do this inside of my program called the High Jump Blueprint, right? And the way it works is we tackle where you need the most help at, right? Where your athlete may need the most help. So when we think about high jump, HJB, High Jump Blueprint, when you think about high jump, right? Let's just say your athlete, they struggle with the mental side, right? And they think, oh, because I'm short and I'm just not confident, right? And they just say, okay, they think height matters, which is mental, okay? But let's just say they struggle with something else in the high jump, like they just run up slow, right? Let's just say run up. They just run up slow. And let's just say preparation, okay? Preparation. What I tell my athletes and my families is that you do not have to be perfect in this sport. You do not have to be perfect, right? But we're going to tackle everywhere that you're weak in the sport, from mental to physical to your training. And from that point, we're going to find where you need the most help and also where you're best at, right? So let's just identify they need the most help mentally because they have this concept that they cannot jump higher than their height, or height matters so much. So we're going to tackle and hone in on the mental side of high jump right here, right? And one thing to understand is you can gain inches from all of these categories, right? And if your athlete needs a lot of help in a lot of different areas, that's even better, because the more room for improvement that they have, the more inches I can add to their PR, right? So let's say we only got 1 inch here, 1 inch here, and 1 inch here, right? That can be 3 inches added onto your athlete's PR. And there's no telling what else they may need help with on top of that, right? But what I say is we do not have to be perfect. If we only needed mental and they were only able to make progress mentally, those 3 inches that we just had added could just come all from one spot. And this is how an athlete goes from jumping in the 6'4" range to being a 6'7" high jumper, being a 6'7" high jumper to being 7 or 6'10", because we were able to hone in and tackle on this. And many of my athletes have made improvements like this from just mental alone, been able to get an extra 2 inches, an extra 4 inches in high jump, right? So if you're the parent of a high school high jumper and you actually want your athlete to succeed in the sport, actually get a personal best, just get more confident, qualify for a state championship, or eventually get a college scholarship, then book a call with me down below, or we'll hop on a call, walk through what your athlete needs help in. And if I feel like I can help you guys out, I'll walk you through my coaching process and exactly how we help them achieve their goals, right? And if you're an athlete watching this video right now, make sure to get this video to your parent, watch it with them, and have them book a call with me down below so that we can go over whatever you may need help with so we can get you to your high jump goals, all right?